Try to save the world. Said I try to save the world. If I could wipe away all your tears and fight away all the fears you have, try to save the world. Something's missing, my friend, 'cause I'm no different than them. No. I'm no Superman. Yeah. Come on. I'm no
Yo, and it's wild cause as a child I never thought about bread much. But look at us now, it could be a couple dollars we head buzz. And getting money's a head rush. And they say dirty cash don't last, but it fed us, you square nigga. You don't know what it's like, man. Up all night on dirty knees, counting G's in the dice game. And the first ice chain that you got from the white cane was like brain from a tight dame. Aight, man, the bread got this pleasure effect I can't explain, but I ain't playing, it's better than sex. So good you can't settle for less, can't let it to rest despite the beef and the federal threats. It starts off with the littlest things, from weed skittles to bean. Before you know it, you done crippled your dreams. They addicted to white, but we addicted to green. Let's keep it real, we the wickedest fiends for real.
I could wipe away all your tears and fight away all the fears you have. I try to save the world, but something's missing, my friend, 'cause I'm no different than them. Oh no, I'm no Superman.
For real, I wish that I could say the world. I wish that I could say the world. Yo, I used to say I need more than a few chips. I'm trying to be so ballin', my heart can't even get broke. I'm too rich, started off with a few zips, and I can't lie, most I ever moved at one time was 2 bricks. But I still felt like Nino Brown. I could still hear the hater singing, he gon' drown. I thought bread was my life vest. I just never seen nothing this priceless. I guess I never thought about the hurt that I caused until I seen that little kid die for work that was ours. And ain't nothing gonna take that pain, ain't no money gonna make that change. I gotta take that, man. I saw myself in his eyes, but bread talked too loud to hear his helpless cries. And that's the cold thing about greed, can't help but wonder if one day that's gonna be my seed.
If I could wipe away all your tears and fight away all the fears you have, I try to save the world. Something's missing, my friend, 'cause I'm no different than them. No, I'm no Superman.
Yeah, for real, I wish that I could say the word. I do. Yo, and you might be the type to say, man, it's just a little bit of hustling. Look at the pen, ain't just a little bit of us. And to Hatchapi to Folsom saying Quentin and Rikers, 8 out of 10 men locked up act just like us. With the exception of the pedophiles and rapists, most of them gangsters that been about their paper. Greed's an indiscriminate drug, it's no love, it's just money, women, and blood. School system is failing and abandoning kids. Meanwhile, these jails just be handing them bids. 'Cause they don't know how to read that well, but they sure know how to read that scale. This is real life, ain't too much on the curb to encourage them to transfer from serving to being surgeons. They quick to say we fell through the cracks, but the truth is we black and we fell to the traps. Yeah, so we fell to the traps. Sometimes you gotta go through hell to get back. I give anything just to bring my relatives back to beat the system. We gotta prevail and adapt. Come on.
I could wipe away all your tears, fight away all the fears you have. I try to change the world. Try to save the world. Said I try to save the world. If I could wipe away all your tears and fight away all the fears you have, I'd try to save the world. Something's missing, my friend, 'cause I'm no different than them. No, I'm no Superman.
Yeah. Come on.
I'm no
Yo, and it's wild because as a child I never thought about bread much. But look at us now. It could be a couple dollars we head bust. And getting money's a head rush. And they say dirty cash don't
Greetings, everybody. Good evening. Hope y'all had a fabulous Sunday, a fabulous Sunday day, a fabulous Sunday evening. Um, I hope many of you who were in the church house today, hope y'all had a great and awesome service. Um, so I'm glad y'all tuned in today for this very, very, very important topic that I want to talk to y'all about today. Now, this topic, it been on my mind for the longest, and I was kind of contemplating what if I was going to really, really just talk about this because, for some strange reason, when I talk about tough topics, say for example with Kevin Samuels or Derek Jackson, or even the marriage license topic, um, it always end up going viral. So you could you could understand why I was kind of hesitant in talking about this particular topic, knowing that it has the probability, I'm sorry, to go viral as well. But it's really on my mind. I really want to talk about this, and we're just gonna go from there, okay? Um, y'all give me one moment, all right? Because I'm gonna pull up another video that I want y'all to see real quick. Give me 1 second while I get it together, okay? All right, I'm back, y'all. Sorry about that. I had to find it real quick. But this particular video, um, it really really describes how the way I be feeling. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and just play it, and y'all just you know do what you do. All right, once again, everybody, Welcome to the show. Welcome to the podcast. As you can see, the title is called God is a Narcissist. There's no play around with the words. That is honestly the title that I came up with. Now, I showed a couple. Showed this on a particular video, and just like I stated earlier, to be honest, to be really honest with y'all, how the way this artist was describing his whole faith and his whole reality with God. To be honest with you, I honestly felt that way. I I really do. And the reason why is because I look at suffering from a broader perspective. I look at suffering. Um, I don't know. As more like the why than the okay. It's needed. If that make any sense. So, like, I mean, just say for example, this world, everyone in this world, they just going through so much stuff right now, and the latest thing that we're going through right now, we're dealing with this COVID situation. Many people who dealt with COVID, they had their loved ones that passed away. Um, some of these people, they'll say that they're righteous people or good people. Some may not be good people. Now, I don't know, but it's the whole point of it happening. Then there's a lot of other things too that have me even question about God and just the whole motive behind God's so-called plan for our life. I mean, there's different things, like say for example, um, a woman who ended up just getting out for work one day, and all of a sudden the dude come out and rape her. You know, so where's God in all that? When this woman dealing with this traumatic experience, why God could have intervened into something like that, stopping the dude for doing what he was doing. And then some cases, not all cases, but some cases the dude ended up getting away. And this woman had to live with this traumatic experience for the rest of her life if she survived the experience. You know, I mean, it does things like that. Then that make me question about that. What about children? Well, what about that child one day being left home with an uncle or aunt, end up being molested? Well, what about that? And that child didn't ask for that. It ended up happening that way, and then from there, it ended up changing the whole course of the child life, where that child um, have such a traumatic experience where they don't know what love is. It's hard for them to experience love. Even furthermore, it's hard for them to trust either a man or a woman, depending on the situation, or maybe both. You know. And well, what about this as well? Even with our ancestors, our ancestors went through 400 years of slavery in this country. Over 400 years of things that they didn't even ask for, but it happened. What was God in that? Part of God's divine plan for even our ancestors to go through for over 400 years of that. What was God in that? You know. So I don't know. It does things that I just question about God, and I'm not going to even lie to y'all. I'm just going to be straight transparent with y'all. It have been a lot of times where I honestly believe that God is a narcissist. It was just my thought. I just honestly believe that God was a narcissist. And the reason why is because I just think about this current stuff that happened to us, stuff that happened to our ancestors. Even if you look in biblical terms, and even throughout the whole entire Old Testament of the Bible, to be truthful with you, God resembled a lot of narcissistic behavior. God made a command in the garden and told Adam and Eve, don't eat from the tree of knowledge. But when Eve ate from the tree of knowledge, he cursed them or forbid them into the garden, and caused Adam to be a laborer, and caused Eve to have birth pains with having children. And it also caused enmity between the man and the woman as well. I mean, what is up with that? Even with the narrative with Cain and Abel. I mean, what's up with that? Was that all part of God's divine plan for that to happen, even though He knew it was happening? Because obviously, in the text and the scripture, He knew that it was happening. He knew it was going on. So why wasn't no intervention? Why He didn't intervene in that? Yeah, I mean, we could go further through the course of the Old Testament where God ended up appointing a certain group of people to be His chosen people versus everyone else in the population, everyone else in the planet Earth. God chose these specific people to be His chosen people. I mean, what's up with that? Why only them particular people gain favor with God versus all the other nationalities in the whole entire planet? What did the other nationalities in the planet do to God to make Him exclude them from that? I mean, it does things that I just question about that. Then even further down on the line with these same people that I'm telling you about, if these people didn't do exactly according towards God's plan, or as the Bible say, do according towards God's commandments, then not only He killed the people, but He literally wiped out their generations and generations for centuries before they got back together, before that particular generation got back in line with God. So I mean, it is things like that that made me question about that. Now, just because I'm talking about this, that doesn't mean that I'm an atheist. That doesn't mean that I don't believe in God. Because absolutely, I believe in God, and no, I'm not an atheist or anything like that. I do believe in God, but it does the actions of God that made me question that. So there's so many things that happen even in the Old Testament that happen in the Bible where God resembled narcissistic behavior, where He resembled that, and there's no denying it. There's no denying it at all. But when I think about it further, it kind of makes sense to even in the biblical scriptures, kind of makes sense to why they had to add a new character, which is Jesus, in the story, because God was horrible in the Old Testament, but versus in the New Testament. So these things, it does make me question the whole thing about God. Now, even from that's my personal situations that I done dealt with, that's made me just think about it. One situation that I had to deal with was that when I was maybe about 3 years old, I know becoming really, really, really sick, and I was in the hospital for a real long time, and I almost nearly died. It was some rare disease that I developed. The doctors couldn't even figure it out. Nobody couldn't figure it out what was going on with me, and the doctors was almost on the brink of declaring me dead, pretty much, at 3 years old. But the silver lining of the story is that, as you can see right now, I ended up getting through that experience. But it still helped me question that too. But okay, what was the whole point of me, even as a child, to even deal with that traumatic experience? Then I can only imagine that it affected my family as well, and it challenged my father and mother faith, and it more likely challenged even my siblings' faith and other family as well, faith and stuff too, for me to just to go through that. And that's one experience. Another experience that I dealt with too was through my adult years. My daughter, my oldest daughter, right? She ended up developing a rare thing that happened to her too. She ended up having a what they call that, a congestive heart failure. Yeah, she ended up having a congestive heart failure, and of course, she got diagnosed as well at 3 years old. She was in the hospital for a long time. Um, they had to do surgery on her. She had to um, throughout her recovery, she had to wear a feeding tube, and the top of it off, she had to wear a pacemaker as well. Now, once again, the silver lining behind that is that throughout all that whole entire experience, my daughter now, she's older now. She's actually get ready to turn 13 this month. So she no longer has the pacemaker. Her heart is in great condition. But even then, it just made me question that. Like, okay, what was the whole point behind that? I mean, God, if you are, divine like you say you are, then why would you allow a child to go through that? Now I know some of y'all probably say, well, maybe it was the one parent situation that caused it to happen. Um, no, it wasn't the parent situation. It wasn't nothing that me or her mom did that upset God or anything like that. You know, we wasn't worshiping the devil. None of us wasn't doing any type of uh, drugs or anything like that that caused that type of birth defect. It just happened. So these experiences that I mentioned and many of these other experiences, that's why I say it made me question about God. It made me throw the question out: Is God really a narcissist to us? Is there like levels to this thing, or what? Is it really like levels to this? And I know that deep down inside, a lot of y'all feel the same exact way. Of course, like right now, and I'm looking at some of the comments. I haven't put it up yet, but I'm looking at some of the comments. First of all, Miss V, and I appreciate your comment, and Miss Juanita. Also, I appreciate your comment as well, which I'm gonna put in the screen a little bit. But deep down inside, even though y'all may be either spiritual or y'all may be religious, or you may study the Bible according towards either how the pastor or overseer told you to study the Bible, or you may just did it on your own and learned the Bible on your own. But however the case is, deep down inside, I know that you and many other people is feeling the same exact way how I'm feeling. That y'all think about this. That it be deep down in your, in your thought or in your spirit that you be thinking about stuff like this. There are people right now they're suffering right now as we speak. There are people that are dealing with traumatic experiences right now as we speak. Even right now, while I'm having this podcast, is people dealing with some type of traumatic experience right now. And all I'm asking is this: where's God in all this? Why God don't want to intervene in that, especially if it's something extremely evil, extremely demonic, extremely satanic? Where's God at in this? Why God won't intervene, especially when He know people who are actually really are good people who are doing their best to just live life. Period. You know, they're not living a perfect life, because all of us, fall short, and all of us, have things in our closet that we deal with on the daily basis that we got to be held accountable for. But at the end of the day, we all just doing what we got to do to live life, to the fullest or the best that we know how. Now I know we all have been to a church building. Um, I also have had these conversations with different overseers, pastors, preachers, ministers, and they really couldn't give me the answer. But however, they always do tend to do this. They always refer me to the book of Job, dealing with suffering, which, it's understandable, but they always refer me to the book of Job, how Job was an upright, righteous man, according to the story. And then one day, Satan came to God and tried to find someone that he could, go through and do his thing. Then God said out of his own mouth, "Hey, you're not considered my servant Job. He's a righteous man." Now, even with him saying that makes me question that, like, okay, if you know that your servant Job is a righteous man, then he's doing everything his best to live his life accordingly and doing what he got to do. Why would you allow Satan to come and just totally disrupt his life like that? Nothing was going on in his life, but all of a sudden allow Satan to disrupt his life in a hindrance way like that, or in a traumatic way. And the situations that he dealt with was unreal. His children was murdered. His income was taken away from him. He even became sick. But yet, it's still in the narrative, he still was doing his best to acknowledge God and give God, the praises. Until one day, he just started getting, in the book, according to the book, he started getting fed up with it. Where he started doing the same thing what I'm doing right now. He actually started questioning God. Like, okay, what's really going on? Did I not do everything? Did I not do everything that's pleasing towards you, or righteous towards him? Now, at the end of this book of Job, God did, after when God acknowledged him, after God acknowledged his friends for saying what they were saying, but at the end, God acknowledged Job. Now, his acknowledgement, and I'm just gonna be totally honest with y'all from my understanding of it, but his acknowledgement to me was very, very, very cold and very, very narcissistic. And I'm just being real with y'all on it. It really was. It really was. And I challenge y'all to go back and read the last part of the book of Job, and you'll understand what I'm saying and understand why I come up with this perspective about it. But just to make a long story short, at the end of the book, instead of God really just acknowledging and comforting Job, even giving him an answer to, even at least giving him an answer to why he allowed Satan to do what he did in his life. He didn't do that at all, period. Nowhere in that book, he didn't do that. But instead, he gave a very narcissistic answer. He started saying that I'm God of the universe. I done created the sea and the air and all these different other things. I done created this and I created that and I created that. And who are you to to challenge me to ask a question and stuff? To my understanding, that's what he was saying, and that's what I got out of it. And so after that, the book, it was just over. That was the end of the story. So even with that, it just makes me question God and make me just think about that, Now, once again, I'm not an atheist or anything. I'm not a person who don't believe in God or the Most High God, anything like that, because I really do. But it does these questions that always be in my mind to make me think about God, think about these things. All right. Let me go start putting. I told you I'm gonna start putting y'all comments up there, but I was deep in the zone right now. Now, Ms. V, she said she was reading about Buddhism and suffering is suspected. It's a part of life. How would you know love if you never fell out of love. I actually thought about that perspective too, Miss V, and I thought about that perspective based on spirituality and based on this also include with Buddhism too, where they believe in the yin and the yang. There's a light and there's a darkness, and they believe that both of these things have to coexist together. So it's needed. That balance is needed. So that your perspective is interesting. And I also studied it as well. It's interesting. But it still made me question it. It still made me think about it too. Now, Miss Juanita, she put in pretty much her comment is dealing with on Romans chapter 8, verse 28. And it says, and we know that all things work together for the good in them that love God, to them who are called according to His purpose. Now, Miss Juanita, I'm not knocking what you're saying for us, the scripture, but this is the same as that scripture that a lot of preachers and ministers told me when I was questioning them about this. They refer me to the same exact scripture. Then they also refer to me the other one scripture as well, where the other scripture talking about the one was talking about the just always suffer as well, something like that. However it goes, but yeah, they always refer me to that as well. And Ms. Juanita, she also said, God is all powerful, all knowing, and all present, but he is not a puppeteer. We humans have free will. We treat each other how we choose to handle our fellow human, not God. Now, once again, your comment, I now understand your comment. I understand your perspective. Now, you mentioned even about free will. That makes me even think about free will too, in a way. I think and this is just my perspective, so I could be right or wrong about it, but we just talk, but from my perspective about it, do we really do have free will? Even though God per se is not controlling us, as you say, like a puppet. But at the same time, do we really do have free will as well? Are we truly have the opportunity to do whatever we want to do in this life without no repercussions? Because if that be the case, then what's the whole concept of sin? If that be the case, because according to biblical scriptures, that we have to do things according towards God will and according towards His plan, or as other people say, we got to do things according towards His commandments, His law, statute, and judgment. So if that be the case, do that mean that we don't have free will if we're not doing according towards God's plan? All right. Wendell, he says this. In my opinion, I think that people put expectation on God that were not consistent with what happened in the Bible. Why would God intervene when He gave man free will? Once God disappeared in the Old Testament, at what point did God say that He will return and intervene in the happiness of the world? To be honest with you, bro, I don't know. Other than the biblical narrative of Jesus. Other than that, but if I were to say that, then we'll be talking about forced interpretation of the Bible. And we already know that the Bible has many different interpretations. It's been translated, it's been transliterated in so many different ways. It does. At this point, the Bible could be subjective. So to be honest, I don't know. I really can't answer that question. I honestly don't know. And Ms. Juanita, once again, you said I'm a big conflicted. When you spoke of Job, I started to feel defensive and wanted to say, how are you going to attribute a human quality to a supreme being? I guess I need to read Job again. I want, Miss Juanita, I challenge you to go ahead and read that book again. Read it again, especially at the end of the book, where when Job start acknowledging God. Well, I'm sorry, when God start acknowledging Job at the end of the book, and just like really, really read it. Don't try to speed read through it or nothing like that, but really take your time and read it for understanding and see. And once again, Miss Juanita, I understand that I'm speaking about something that it'll make you want to be defensive, but especially if this part of your faith or your religion, especially if it been something that you've been taught. Now, I'm not on this thing. I'm not now. At one time, I'm not telling people that you shouldn't believe in God at all. I never said that. Not at one time. I never want to say that you shouldn't believe in your faith or your religion or anything like that. This whole particular podcast thing is dealing with really me. I'm putting myself on the spot. It's really dealing with me and how I think and how I perceive about God. It's me. It's all me. Now, all this thing that I'm saying is very subjective. It's not facts at all. I'm not saying that it's facts. All it is that's my perspective behind it, and that's it. Just so people who go and view this video again, then start saying some stuff that they don't understand. So I'm putting this disclaimer out here that this is all me. Just my perspective. Just me. Okay. So I don't know. I don't know. Like even right now, I do my best to still have a relationship with God. I do my best to acknowledge God. But at the end of the day, I still have that question in my mind. Now, do I love God? Absolutely, I do. Without a shadow of a doubt. I love God as just as much as I love men, And I'm not talking about in a homosexual way. I'm talking about men, human beings, okay? In a platonic way, all right? Now, Wendell, he said this, we have free will. You're free to do whatever it is that you want. The only consequence that you know will happen on this earth. What happens after you leave here is unknown. So based on the facts of what you can actually prove, you do have free will. I mean, that's an interesting perspective, bro. That's an interesting perspective. Now, I would ask this, since we're on the topic of free will, what is the definition of free will? What what creates free will? Well, what creates that? Is free will something tangible that we can see? Is it spiritual? Because if that be the case, if we have free will to do everything, then once again, I reference back to the whole notion about sin. If we have free will to do whatever, then what's the whole point about sin? Because as y'all know, sin have to do with transgression against God's commandments or God's law or God, period. So if that be the case, then what's the whole point of that? Is it like levels to this free will thing or not? Is it or is it ain't? If that make any sense. That's what I want to know. Yeah, like even right now, no, we dealing with things right now in this world. We dealing with so much stuff in this world. There ain't no telling what's going to happen within the next hour. It ain't no telling what's going to happen in the next second. Sure, the planet probably going to be gone in the next second. I don't know, but we don't know. But even if that were the case that where it happened, then even then, well, what's the whole point of that? What's the whole point of God being a God to us and being an existence to us if we have all these conflicts that we have to deal with or all these sufferings that we have to deal with on a daily basis? All right, Wendell, he said this. He said, free will is the power to do whatever you want to do. Sin is relative. I have always questioned sin. Stealing is sin, but God commanded it in the Old Testament. True. I feel like the ideal of sin is just a way to push people towards moral actions. Now, bro, now that's also an interesting perspective too, because just like you mentioned, when we mentioned about sin, there was a lot of things that God did that He said He didn't like, but He allowed the people that I said earlier, the chosen people, to do it. Like say for example, God commanded in one of the commandments that He said, "Thou shalt not kill," but at the same token, God commanded His chosen people to go and wipe out nations in His name and to take their land and their possessions. Then in some context of the scripture, depending on where they was at, He commanded them not to do it. He said, "Okay, you could go ahead and kill them and stuff, right? But don't take their treasures, but you could take their women and children." So I mean, even things like that, it make you question it. It's like, okay, so is it levels to this sin thing or what? Yep, exactly. Exactly, bro. Kill the men and children, and take the women for yourselves. Exactly. You're right about that. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just cut from a different cloth where I actually have to question these things about on God and the Bible and this the Bible in general. You know what I'm saying? This stuff that's go on with the Bible. And just like I said earlier, when I after I started to show off, and I was saying about these chosen people, even what's up with that? Where the Bible speak about a chosen people, and I said that what makes these people better than every other one human being on the whole planet Earth that was created. What make them better than us? I mean, this just well, I mean, I'm just questioning about that. I just question about it. So I don't know if y'all feel this way how I feel, but I know that deep down inside there's people that really do feel this way. But what's kind of preventing y'all from really expressing it is these two reasons. The first reason, which is the obvious reason, is because we've been programmed even since we were young to believe in a God, and we've been indoctrinated into religion since we was young. And so when you grow up into it, it does become a way of life or a way of living. So you may have deal with people, deal with pastors who was real dogmatic, and they saying you shouldn't question God. That's sin too. You're gonna go to hell, and they discourage you straight. I mean, that's one possibility. The other possibility is just the straight out fear behind it. where you're being so traumatic, thinking that if you do question God or have these tough conversations, then God is going to do something to you, or God is not going to bless you anymore because you questioning His will. So you end up dealing with this traumatic experience, which is in a way it's kind of psychological when you think about it. But once again, y'all, I'm just saying all this because once again, this I mean we need to ask these questions, these tough questions, and I'm hoping that out of all the videos that I normally do, I'm really hoping that this video really do go viral for real, because I want preachers and teachers and ministers to see this video. A matter of fact, y'all, those of you who are watching right now, I encourage y'all to share this video, share it, put it on your timeline, share it, share this video, because I want to look at other people's perspective about this. Now, those of you who are on here right now who's coming, I appreciate y'all coming. I appreciate y'all perspective behind it as well. But I want to give more people perspective about it too, so I can look and read and look and just analyze what people are saying in this matter, especially if there are preachers and teachers and ministers, evangelists, prophets or prophetess, whoever it is. Share it. I don't care if you share this on a church page. Share it, because I believe this tough conversation needs to. We honestly need this tough conversation. All right, I feel like we were here before the gods and the people follow. They came and gave up intellect and left. The people back then worshiped those gods, and when they left, the people feel like they were going to come back. So they wrote stories about their encounters with these guys, and also wrote about their return in hopes that it would happen. Or maybe the guys told some of them that they would return, or just never did. That's just my opinion, and that's pretty interesting because bro, because that's exactly what the Egyptians talk about. And that's exactly what they talk about in African dysphoria and African spirituality. That's exactly what they talk about. People who also believe in chematology, they believe that as well. That's what happened. It's even people, if I'm not mistaken, it's even people who are Greeks and some part of European culture that believe in that as well. Sorry, y'all, I had to drink some water. You know what? Let me do this. I'm doing all the talk. I'm gonna go ahead and invite y'all on. If y'all want to come on and just share your point of view, I'm gonna share it right now. All right. Now, if you click on this link that I just put on here, if you want to either click on it or you copy and paste it either whatever device you on, it will allow you to come onto my platform. And so if y'all want to give like any type of perspective about it, it don't matter. Or if you want, do whatever, it's fine. Now, once again, I'm not that type of person who I'll try to belittle you or anything like that. I want to hear from your point of view. Regardless if you agree with me or not, that's fine. As long as we're having this conversation. Welcome.
How you doing, sir? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much. Good to be here.
Glad to hear you, bro. Glad to hear you. So what you got?
Give me a second. I got a loop.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm good now. Yeah. Um, yeah. I guess I've been leaving a lot of comments. But yeah, my whole thing is about free will. I've questioned God a lot. Why he allowed certain things to happen. And of course, you see the videos and things, and you're like, well, why did God allow this mass murderer to go into this church and shoot people up and stuff like that? And honestly, I think that everything that happens in this world is the sins of this world. Like, we're just living in a broken world, and everything that happens in the world is a result of us not following the guidelines and us not following the rules that God put in place. Because I do feel like if, just say the 10 Commandments, for example, I feel like if everyone honored the 10 Commandments or followed the 10 Commandments or some kind of laws of morality or whatever of basically the main concept of the 10 Commandments, which is love your neighbor and then love God or whatever, if everyone followed those two solid rules or whatever, then I do feel like a lot of the stuff that we encounter would not happen. But since we don't, since we kind of do what we want to do, and that's the whole free will part of it, we have to suffer the consequences of it. Now, the consequences that we deal with I feel like don't necessarily have to happen in the afterlife. The consequences that we suffer, whatever, is what happens here. And that's just kind of like how I view it. When I see things, I see the brokenness of this world, and you can see, like, just through the actions of certain people in certain situations, you can just see that it's not lining up with love your neighbor as you love yourself. It's not lining up with love God with all your mind, body, and soul or whatever. And I guess that would be the sin nature part of it. Anything outside of that could be pretty much labeled as a sin, because now your actions have went away from being selfless to selfish. And usually when you see a lot of stuff that's going on in this world that's bad, it's based on selfish actions. Now, I guess in the situation with your daughter, my little cousin, like, I really don't have an answer for that. Yeah, that one's, I don't know. I can't necessarily blame it on God. I can't necessarily blame it on science. I can't even say that that's a part of because of the sins of this world, because I mean, it's not. It's just, I guess there are just some things that there's really no answer to. I'm definitely glad that she made it through it or whatever, and that she's doing a lot better now. But yeah, there are just some things that as much as, like, you question it, it's really no answer to it. And those are the hardest ones, because usually when you can't find the answer, like, there has to be an answer somewhere. And a lot of times when there's not an answer to it, then it automatically goes to God. Like, God, why is this happening? God, why are you letting this happen? And I don't know. It's a very, very, like, interesting situation. But yeah, I've encountered things, I witnessed things, and I just got to a point in my life where I just feel like God taught us what we needed to know or whatever in order to function in this world, or to try to, like, maintain this world. And then God kind of stepped away and took his hands off and said, okay, let's see if you can do what I taught you. And we're messing up. We don't know what we're doing. And this is the result of it.
Well, I appreciate everything that you're saying, bro, and I appreciate your perspective as well. Now, Oh, thank you for not sharing my daughter as well. I appreciate that too. Um, Now, the only question I have about that is that if God actually had a original divine plan for us, right, and He expected us to carry out this particular plan, why not this plan be already embedded into us, embedded into our DNA, where we could carry out fully without nothing um, prohibiting us doing it? As we say, sin. Well, would it be better if God just totally removes sin out of the equation, that we could fully carry out the plan that we need to do on this planet? Or
Now, my thing with that is, and I've had this conversation with my wife too. I feel like that God's plan for us was instilled in us. God's plan for mankind, I feel like, was instilled in mankind to do. But I also feel like with the introduction of the Bible, with the introduction of some of the other holy books, now what's written has caused us to kind of question what's already in our heart. Like I've never felt like that an all-powerful God would have to put something in a book where throughout time you have some people who can't even read, so who would never understand what was in that book or whatever. And
true.
throughout time you have some people who would never even encounter that book, but an all-powerful, all-knowing God will put it in our hearts or whatever to carry out the plan. And I felt like the book was more of like a distraction to kind of like take us off track or whatever. And that's when I started to like really, really dig deep into the Bible and the origins of the Bible and the history of the Bible and like where it came from and the purposes of it, and getting like outside of the Bible, because I've always questioned, like, why would an all-knowing, all-powerful God put our instructions or His plans for us into a book that not everyone will get, a book that can be altered and changed or whatever, a book that can be have books removed, have words and text and all of that stuff added. Like, why would He do all of that when He could just put His plan into our hearts or into our minds and we just follow that, whether there's a book or not?
Yeah, true. And there's this conversation that you're speaking about. It's leaning more towards um, the Word of God. Period. Now, a lot of people, they believe that the Word of God, or the inspired Word of God, is actually the Bible itself. I done had plenty of debates about this, about the Word of God being the Bible. But as you stated earlier, His actually words is within us. So,
Mm-hmm.
is it possible that God's word was so deep embedded into us that we needed people to document His own words that he was saying to us? Or furthermore, our experiences with God, we needed to document that, so others, so the other generations could know and understand, God, or understand God's will better for our life.
Um, I think our words. I think first of all, when it comes to the Old Testaments, especially if the Old Testaments were documented on, let's say, the walls of the Egyptians or the Sumerians or whatever, I feel like there was more of the experiences, like the people, they experience God. So in your experiences with God, yes, I want to document this. I want to let people know that these are the experiences that I had with God. But still, like, I already know what's in my heart. I already know like what my plan is, but it's almost like and I hate making this comparison, but I mean, I guess some people may get it. It's almost like going to a concert. Like, you're gonna go to a concert or whatever, and you're gonna enjoy yourself at the concert. But if you actually get a chance to take pictures or whatever with whoever the artist is, you're gonna take those pictures. with the artist. You're even going to take pictures of the artist. And that's just to document the experience, not necessarily say, hey, these are the rules that you need to follow the next time you go to this person's concert. No, this is just the experience that I had, or that we had in the concert. And I do feel like that in knowing what you have to do, sometimes you're introduced with things that kind of make you second guess what it is that you know that you have to do. And that's probably where the sin part comes in, because you can know your path. You can know your path to not kill. That can just be natural. Don't kill. Because even like, I feel like even as a baby, you're pretty much, you come here and you have what's written into you. That's why if you pay attention to kids, if you just let kids like alone and you leave them in their natural environment, kids will love on one another. They'll hug each other. They'll play around with each other and stuff like that. Now, if you can put something into the equation or whatever that makes the kids second guess whether or not they want to love or whatever, and sometimes it can be a toy, one toy, an object basically, and it may make one kid hit the other kid if the kid doesn't want to share it with them or whatever. And I guess that is the thing, that is the distraction that kind of takes away from the love. So I'm thinking that along the lines of like time or whatever, there were like different distractions that were put in place. Maybe people loved each other and they came to one place and they saw something that they wanted that the other people had. And now their love got distracted or whatever, because now they're focused more on this object, whether it was gold, whether it was land, or whether it was a woman. They will focus on this object. So now they're taken away from love or whatever, and based on that object. And I think over time there had to be something put in place, a Bible or a scripture or something that kind of reminded people, hey, stop focusing on these objects and focus more on love. All of this is about love from the time that the world started up until now, from the time that you were a kid, a baby, up until now. It's all about love or whatever. But we tend to focus on objects, and the objects are basically what leads us to the sin, instead of really just focusing on the love. That's what I feel.
Yeah, you mentioned a lot about the object, right? Now, question about that. Now, is the object itself, was this a manifestation based on us already existing in our divine nature, or was it placed there purposely so we could exist in our divine nature?
I feel like the object was already, whatever the object is, I feel like it's already here. Like I said, the object could be gold, which is just, it was here. It's just it's something shiny that someone saw that they liked and someone else had.
My precious, huh?
Right. Today's object is money. Today's object is a fancy car. Today's object is a big house. Just whatever it is that causes one person to not necessarily be jealous, but be envious of another person, to even put themselves in a mental space to have an ill will or a negative feeling towards them. And it's usually based on an object of some sort that kind of started the back and forth. Yeah, I don't think that it was put here. I just thought it was already here. And once we gained intellect, then we actually started to notice and like focus more on that stuff. Because if you pay attention to like animals, I mean, other than being intellectual, animals, all kind of animals pretty much do the same things that we do: eat, breathe, sleep, and all of that stuff. But if you put like a big gold bar in front of an animal, like all the animals aren't going to rush and try to fight each other for it. They're just going to walk past it, because it doesn't mean anything to them. They don't have the intellect to know or to even like give that some sort of value. Now, of course, if you put a piece of food down, yeah, that might fight over it. but yeah, us and our intellect, we see stuff like that and we feel like that we have to have it. And that's where the selfishness comes in at. That's the object that kind of leads us down the path of sin, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah, yeah. Well, which I appreciate. I appreciate it. You giving your perspective about it. It's very enlightening, and I'm pretty sure everyone who's severe right now is very enlightening to it as well to make them think. Now, once again, when I want to share things like this, it's not to challenge your faith or challenge what anyone believe in, but it is to give a different perspective about it because I know that it's people who really are thinking about this. You know, uh, I
Mhm.
I remember one time when I was in downtown, I had met a guy in downtown. He was homeless. Now this guy he used to be at the top of his game. He had a PhD and wherever I think it was in environmental science or something like that. But however, he ended up landing in a rough time and he lost everything. And he was out living in the streets in downtown Dallas. And I encountered him one day, and I now decided to buy him a cup of coffee. So I got him a cup of coffee, and we just started talking. And so he started sharing me about his whole life and saying that he had a PhD and everything. But he also was questioning God because he believed in God too. He was questioning God, like he was just saying, "Man, I don't understand why I'm not even in this situation. I don't understand why I'm suffering the way it is. And I did everything possible to just live my life the best way I know how, but I'm in this situation now, and I just don't understand it." You know. And so the one thing I could tell the guy was that look, I understand. I understand what you're going through, and I understand that life gives you challenges. You know, that certain things happen in your life. You know, and of course, I gave him the answer to the generic answer where everybody would give, like, "Hey, just hang in there. Eventually, God's gonna get you through it, and you just keep praying and believing. And I pray with you as well, brother." And that's the generic answer, but that encounter really what started me to really think about that. Just really think about it, like, dang, what if I was in a situation like he was, and how would I respond to that? You know, and then the story had me think about just other things too about the situation with God, which it brings me to what we're talking about right now. Just these experiences with God. So I don't know. At the end of the day, even though I'm going to school for therapy and therapist stuff, at the end of the day, do I have the answer to this? Absolutely, I don't. I don't know. I honestly don't know. Um, I can't even honestly say that everything is in God's will or according towards His plan. Because I honestly do not know if it is or isn't. But if we were to say that it is, then there are many people out there that'll disagree with that have dealt with traumatic experiences with God. Well, not with God, but that's with life. Period. That'll make them question God. You know.
Um, so of course I wouldn't say this to the guy if I had the conversation with the guy, but the way that I view things, I feel like that man has overcomplicated things. Um, so you almost have to simplify things. So in simplifying things, I break down, and I've had this conversation with my wife as well. I break down life into to two things. You have the things that you want, and you have the things that you need. Okay, I feel like
Yeah.
God
Facts.
makes a I feel like God makes a way to provide the things that you need. So when I really think about it, what do I need to survive in this world? It's really only like two things. It's food and water. Um, and no matter where he is or whatever, if he's alive or whatever, and people are giving him money or whatever to get food and he can get water, then he has the things that he needs to survive in this world. Now, when he's talking about PhDs and stuff like that, that's not a need. That's really a want, because there are certain countries and like areas where they don't even know what a PhD is, don't even care what a PhD is, because it doesn't do anything that's going to put food and liquids on their table. So I feel like in our complicated things, we kind of blur the lines between wants and needs. And when we don't get the things that we want, or when we lose the things that we want, we kind of question God. When we lose the house, we question God. When we lose the car, or we lose the PhD, or we lose the job, we question God. God ain't never promised you those things or whatever. And you don't need those things. You want those things to have a particular type of life that is comfortable for you. But just to have a basic life, a simplified life, you need food, you need water. Of course, you may need shelter, but depending on where you live in, not really. But you have some people who live under the bridge or whatever. We went under the bridge and we talked to some homeless people one time before. Now, you have some people who live under the bridge or are homeless because they're just out, the bad luck or whatever. Things just didn't go the way that they wanted to in life. But you have some people who live under the bridge or are homeless because they want to be. They want to get away from the world of just needing things. I mean, wanting things.
That is true.
And they want to just be able to enjoy life and get the things that they need, which is food and which is nourishment or whatever. And just whatever else happens in the world, like let it happen. But it's not going to be one of those that brings them down because they prop themselves up so high to where they feel like that they need extra things that they don't need. Now, I would tell that guy that because I know he's definitely not trying to hear that. But in that particular situation, I would offer to give him what he needed. Hey, let me go and buy you something to eat. Let me get you something to drink. And that will be, I would feel like that's God working through me, providing him what he needed or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you on that. And that actually has been my experience as well. When I was serving under a ministry, and then I did outreach, did a lot of outreach ministry as well. And I had that same type of experience and that same type of conclusion as well, where it was some people who was really worried down out of luck in that situation, and they're just using that situation where they at to get to the next step. But however, there are people they're comfortable there, all because they want to escape the system of the world, which is staying in an area where you got to pay bills and all these other things. They want to get rid of that, what I'm saying, so they could live a free life, which either case, what I'm saying, I totally understand it. I really do, All right, so I appreciate everybody tuning in. I appreciate y'all tuning in. We're let's see the topic. We're talking about God is a narcissist. Yes, that is the topic. God is a narcissist. I'm unapologetically about it too. So if y'all liking the content, whatever, if y'all loving the content, y'all see the little scrolling ticker thing right there. You can always support by Cash App and Official Urban Therapist. That is my Cash App. You could go ahead and do that. If you feel to need to do that, go ahead. And one other thing too, if you want to actually join on the panel as well, that's on window is on here too. You can want to join the panel as well. I left the link right there. All you got to do is click on the link on any one of your devices that you use in your official computer or your smartphone. Just click on it and it will bring you onto the panel, and I would love to hear your perspective about it. All right. Now let's get to Miss Juanita. She's saying this: if given the opportunity, using the knowledge I now have, I would have advised that man to plan your escape with all caps, meaning that she's screaming at him, "Plan your escape." Submit those plans to God and put those plans into action. That's interesting. Now, thing about it is that would the God would have accepted that though? I have a brother and niece that I lovely call nomads. They are perfectly fine either being homeless or constantly moving from one place to another. Which, yeah, once again, that is true because like we both said earlier, there are people who are actually content in that because they're not worrying about bills. They're not worried about if their mortgage going to be due or not, or they're not worried about electricity or anything, you know. And it is crazy that they just solely rely on God. They're relying on God to send somebody there to feed them, you know, or clothe them, which people do it all the time. People they'll come and give them food, give them clothes, and you know, they do it all the time. I know I do it.
Yeah, I feel like God isn't in that content. I feel like God is in full effect because there are just so many people, just too many people, organizations or whatever. Their main mission is to go out and make sure that people are taken care of. Go out and make sure that people are fed. Now there are not too many organizations that'll go out and make sure that the extra things happen, the want things happen, but just I feel like all over the world there are organizations and just people who try their best to make sure that the needs happen, and that is the personification of God to me.
Yeah, and that's good. That's a good personification, and I agree to that as well because I see God working like that as well, where I see God as more of a balance to everything, where everything has a balance and a purpose to it. Even though I question the motives behind it, but still it has a balance and a purpose behind it. You know, like say for example, I had this conversation with my wife too. Because she was telling me one day she had lost some money, right? And it was like a long time ago. And so I had told her, yeah, you lost your money because it was meant for you to give that money to somebody. This is why you lost it. It's simple as that. And she laughed like, what? I'm like, yeah, it was meant for you to give that money to somebody, so that's why you lost it. Then she's like, well, why so? I like, well, let me ask you a question. If a random person would have came up to you and say, "Can I have $20?" and wouldn't give you the reason why they should have $20, would you have did it? Said nope. I like sure I wouldn't have did it neither. I'm being real with you. I wouldn't have did it. But sometimes a divine situation happens to where it allows that opportunity for God to work. You know, so we end up losing that $20 bill. We lose it. It probably fly out our pocket. Well, however weird way it happens, it happens. And so that at that right moment, at that right time, that person probably was already praying to God, or they on their last leg or whatever, or shoot, they just needed $20 for whatever reason. And they end up just so happen finding $20, and it helped them. The reason why I know about this because this thing happened to me plenty of times, especially when I was young. I remember one time we was me and my friends was going to the mall, right? Well, we was coming from the mall, and so I didn't have bus fare because my silly butt spent my money all in the mall. Didn't think about it. I needed to get home, so I didn't know how I was going to get home. And just so happened, I ended up finding a $5 bill on the ground at that moment. And it was enough for me to get that bus fare and get home, which is weird how it sounds, but that's just an example of it, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, once again, everybody, I appreciate y'all joining in with the conversation. Miss Juanita, she says this. Wait a minute, did you already say that?
Yeah, she already said that.
Yeah, my bad. Miss Juanita, you need to just go and get on the panel and stop being scared. I promise I don't bite. I promise I don't bite you. Now she posts something new. All right. Now she said the homeless man may not have accepted my advice, but my fully licensed professional counselor self, going on with your bad self, would have asked him, do you want to take control of your situation or do you want to complain about your situation? Wow, that is true. That is true. Now, now, from how the way I was when I had that counter versus now, and I'm more likely I would have told him the same exact thing. Because back in the past, we get more wise. We should be getting more wiser as we grow. So, but yeah, I had told him the same exact thing. If that were to happen,
I probably would have, but like I said, I probably would have over a meal. You know, people who are kind of like down there, they're more open to listen if they're filling up their stomach. So, you know, follow me to McDonald's or whatever. Let me get you some food and drink and let's talk. And then they'll be more quick to open up or whatever. But you're trying to have a conversation with them right then and there, and they're already like kind of aggravated. They gonna hear you, but they're not really gonna hear you.
Here's the link right here, Miss Juanita. Yeah, if anyone want to join on, I'm sharing the link with you right now. All you got to do is, depending on what device that you're using, most of the time you can just click on it and it'll take you directly there. But let's say that if you have an iPhone, you know our iPhone doesn't support Chrome fully, so you have to use Safari with this particular program. So yeah, you may have to just kind of cut it and paste it and throw it on there. What mobile device are you using, Ms. Juanita? Is it an iPhone or Android? Because if it's Android, I believe you just click on just tap on the link using your Android, and it'll take you right to the one panel. But if you're using an iPhone, iPhones be kind of tripping, so you'll have to go through Safari. If it don't take you directly there, you may have to just kind of copy it and paste it on your browser in Safari, and it'll take you straight there. Yeah, Android. Yeah, you should be able to just click on the link, and it'll just take you straight there. The link that I'm sharing with you right now. Or you could, if the link's not available, where you could just click on it, you could just you just copy and paste it. Are you trying to? Are you doing that on your browser on your phone on Chrome? But yeah, if you do it if you copy the link, then paste it on your browser on Chrome or whatever browser you're using, it should work. There you go. I see you. Come on in. I see you, Miss Juanita. Welcome.
Welcome. Well, thank you for having me. It is 11:23 Eastern Standard Time, so I am not presentable at the moment. So you get a view of my ceiling.
Hey, you got a great ceiling.
Thank you.
Hey, it's what time? Our time it's 10 something here. So where we in Texas? Jeez.
Yeah, it's
but yeah,
23.
Yes, 10:23 here, but yeah, I'm not presentable either. I'm honestly chilling in a tank top. That's why I'm not on screen. So y'all gonna get my good looking picture screen, and I just see Mr. Wendell. He's showing his brain, showing that he got a brain.
Showing off those brain cells.
yeah. I've been looking at your comments. So what you got for us?
Well, I think I come from a unique perspective in that I am a licensed professional counselor in the state of Michigan as well as Louisiana. And I'm also a minister in training. And there are situations where I'm stumped, whether clinically, I feel like I'm stumped. And spiritually, I'm stumped because I know the person's not in a position of receiving what I have to offer them spiritually. And I get frustrated either with their inability to receive or my inability to feed.
Yeah, that's interesting. I honestly can relate to that because I'm currently in school right now for sociology and psychology, so I can be a therapist as well. And
Mm-hmm.
so, well, when I be studying the textbook, that plus be trying to add the spiritual part to it, it's difficult to say the
Yeah.
least. Because the textbook gives you a certain directive to follow, or a
Mm-hmm.
certain, or as you say, a certain script to follow for for your patients.
Mm-hmm.
That if you try to attach spirituality into this, it's leading you away from the textbook. It is like you personally trying to, in a way, it's like you trying to personally manipulate the person into your belief, and that's where the scales be kind of tipping over, going back and
Well,
forth with it.
I think I've navigated around that in that I tend to stick to biblical principles rather than actual scripture. Because principle usually translate to just about every religion.
True.
Treat your neighbor as yourself. Just the general rule, the golden rule. So when I stick to the principle rather than the actual scripture, it still allows me to navigate the spiritual realm, but also access my clinical training.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So, um, well, when you finally navigate into your spiritual training, what be the frustration behind that? Like for us, you trying to talk to someone like Wendell with the brain here, and you're trying to pour, all your wisdom and knowledge to try to help them.
Well, I would say with Wendell, with what I was able to catch, because I've been in and out listening to the conversation. I pretty much agree with I think what I've heard, the grand majority of what he was saying. Um, so I can't say that I'm in disagreement with anything that I've heard him say.
Okay.
Hmm.
But me on the other hand, me who
Okay.
causing all this conflict.
No, okay. Well, just the topic in general, when you say God is a narcissist, um, or has narcissistic tendencies, I'll say that. I
Mhm.
think I said it in one of my comments that I think we're putting him on an even playing field when we attribute human qualities to him. Now, I
Right.
do believe that he does exhibit human qualities because God has been angry, God has been jealous.
True.
Um, but I think when we categorize him clinically, I think we contain someone who does not, who exceeds the human parameter.
Hmm. Yeah. So in other words, well, when you make a comment that God is a narcissist, we pretty much um, taking him out of his divine nature and making him human.
Exactly. Yes.
Right.
Gotcha. Yeah, gotcha. But which that like I say that is very very understandable. It is, and I I think this in my way of thinking, me just trying to figure out the intentions of God, knowingly in my life, but like in other people's life, I had to just level him down, as you say, in the playing field. Just level him down. Instead of level him up, I have to level him down. Just
Yeah,
to
and
try
we
to get
got to
some
meet.
understanding.
We do have to meet God. We do have our brain power, and that's all we have access to. And so that's all we can do with seeking God. But when I use the one example in Romans 8:28,
Hmm.
I was looking at it from the perspective of we're going to have tests and trials, and it's not going to be fair. It's not going to be, every young Black girl is not going to make it out of their environment having not been molested, having not been raped, having not been categorized in a certain context just because she's Black or he's Black or he's been molested or anything like that. I think when I don't remember her name, but she was talking about the Buddhist teachings, in
Hmm.
that how can you appreciate love having never lost love? And in the same context, principally and not just scripturally, we have to experience losses to know when we've gained.
Right.
You don't know that a child doesn't know, a well cared for child doesn't know that hunger exists. They know what it's like to come to the table however many times a day or be given a snack however many times a day. And it's not until they've not had those, the privilege of eating whenever they're hungry to appreciate food.
True. True.
So principally, that's why I said I take the biblical principles or spiritual principles into my therapeutic sessions rather than just scripture. Excuse me, rather than just scripture, because those things are universal.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I could agree to that. And that's leaning on towards the universal principles or the universal law. Um, yeah, dealing with that aspect. That's correct.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Not saying that's dealing with the universal principles or the universal law.
Yeah. And that's where I'm able to navigate, because when I initially um started to work in a clinical setting, I struggled because I knew that in some contexts my biblical training standing in complete opposite of my clinical training. And I felt like I was lying to my client because I hadn't um, resolved the conflict within myself.
Hmm.
And it was just, I guess, just a revelation where I was able to tap into the realization that there are universal truths, no matter what faith, no matter what religion, no matter what culture I encounter. These are things that I can access for my client, no matter what bag they're coming out of. I can come out of the same bag.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I not totally agree with that too. Now, even with my encounters that I had with people, even though I'm not licensed or anything yet,
Mm-hmm.
but the the fact still is the same as you mentioned about the principles that no matter where they at, whether if they are atheists or where if they believe in a higher power, they believe in the religious aspect of it. No matter where it's at, the universal principle is still the same with the Creator, and
Mm-hmm.
I could be able to talk to them and relate to them and share them a different perspective, and it will help them, overcome whatever um, situation that they're dealing with, traumatic or not.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I agree with it. I agree with what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I agree with that perspective as well. It's real good. Yeah,
Well,
even,
thank
even,
you.
even though you was kind of questioning me about the Job thing, but
Well,
I mean,
no,
we
I
good.
think I think with the story of Job is it's it takes humanity to the extremity of the losses that we can experience. I mean, just going through the pandemic, how many people have experienced several losses, several family members? Some of those family members contributed to the finances of the home, or the managing of the children, or any elderly family member. And that was just a loss after a loss after a loss after a loss. And that's just like the story of Job. I think um, if even if a person doesn't look at the biblical stories of actual accounts, they can look at the biblical stories as reference points.
Mhm.
And when you look at the story of Job as a reference point, it's ultimately saying, and I'm not looking at God's response, I'm looking at Job's response. Job's response was, no matter what, I'm still going to serve you. As much as
Mhm.
I want to curse my own life, as much as I want to die, as much as I basically had to cuss out my wife and tell her you a fool, go on somewhere with all that foolishness, I'm still going to serve my God, who did, at least for that portion of my life, blessed me abundantly. And yes, now I don't have any of that, but he was gracious enough to give me all of that, to allow me to experience all of that. And who am I to complain, even at this point, even at this low point in my life?
Yeah, that is so true. Actually, that is 100% facts. That's exactly what Joe said throughout the whole narrative for that. Regardless of his suffering, he never at once wavered serving God or loving God. In fact, he still wanted to do the things too. Even while he was sick, he still wanted to do the things. And at the end of the day, that's how my thought process is too. Even though that I question God on the things that happens not only with myself in my personal life, but that's with people as well, especially people that doesn't deserve things to happen, but it happens. At the end
Mhm.
of the day, I still love God and I still honor God. I still want to, do my best ability to serve God and serve my community the best way I know how, until it's time for me to leave this world.
Right. And I think, we put a lot on God um when bad things happen, and God, how could you let this happen? And going back to the statement that I made before, we do have free will. It is kind of at the mercy of God, and I don't know how to articulate that other than saying what I just said. But
Yeah, yeah. I don't think none of us be able to articulate it because it's the from my understanding, it's like a gray area in it too. It's not just cut and dry like how we want it to be.
right. And I'll just give my own testimony, life example, as an example. I know that I was called to the ministry, and I didn't know in what capacity, but I was avoiding it. Oh, I was avoiding it very, very consistently. And it got to the point that when I finished grad school, um, I had a home that I wound up having to allow to go back to the bank. Um, I got a job opportunity as a school counselor, but it was in the middle of nowhere, Arizona, on the Navajo reservation.
Oh wow.
And then from there, I got another opportunity, which I thought was a diamond in the rough sort of opportunity, but it landed me in a culture that was as closed off as the Navajo culture was, but it was my own people.
Wow.
And it was a very small community at a university. But if you didn't go to that university or graduate from that university or basically pour your life into that university, you were not a friend of, I'm not going to say the school's name, but you were not a friend of this community. And I was not a friend of
Wow.
this community because of the training that I had, being born and raised in a blue collar union sort of environment where you're going to do me right by these terms and agreements, or I'm not going to go above and beyond. And that made me stand out like a sore thumb. And I remained there. Long story short, it took me 10 years to go through my wilderness experience before I said, okay, God, I guess I'm gonna go ahead and be a minister too. So
I understand that.
so
Hey,
yes, I had my free will, but my free will took me down through the wilderness.
so let me ask you a question about that. Now,
Hmm.
after when you finally acknowledged that you want to go into ministry,
I did not
did
want to
they
go into ministry. Let's be very clear. I am relenting to go into ministry because I don't
what
want to go through all that all over again.
well let me rephrase it. When you said yes to God,
Yes,
did the opportunities become easier? Was it the same or
they became easier. They
I
did.
gotcha.
I was even when I finally got delivered from that university experience and got to come back home because the pay was so poor that once I paid my bills, I really didn't have much to save. I did have the opportunity to come back home to Michigan, and I am now. Uh, I'll say this: the first church experience was good, but it had more flaws than benefits. But once my eyes
Okay.
were open to that, that's when the choices became choices rather than, well, I better take this because I don't know what my other opportunities are out there. Even today, yeah, still today, I was given the opportunity to work with a new organization, a very, well, I'll say a very, yeah, new organization.
Hmm.
And I'm sure at the end of the week, I'll have the same opportunity with another organization that I interviewed with, because the current job that I'm in at a methadone clinic, um, they weren't very organized. I brought organization to them. They weren't very caring towards the clients, and I brought that to them. And it's just, I'll put it this way: I realized my value when
Yeah.
I said yes to God. In all the other situations, I didn't I didn't even value myself. I didn't see where it mattered whether I was in the mix or not.
Hmm. Yeah, that's interesting.
And just the fact that that revelation came from me, not clinically for my clients, not for anyone that I might be able to minister to, but the value that I have of myself that I know came from God, rather than, well, I have all these degrees and all this education and I bring this to the table. I knew that, but I didn't value it. And I
Wow.
didn't realize what value it could bring to me as a whole.
Wow. That's very interesting. Um, well, first of all, I appreciate you just sharing your testimony. It's very, very, very enlightening indeed. Second of all, I do want to shout out Michigan because I do got family out there in Michigan as well, in
Hey,
Detroit and what's that, Flint
okay,
as well. Flint.
yeah.
Yeah, so I got family out there. So shout out to Michigan. Shout out.
Hey, all right.
But yeah, your whole testimony is very enlightening to me because as you was telling your story, I could remember having that same type of encounter as well, where one moment at a time I was just doing my thing and just hoping for the best, versus when I actually started going into my divine calling.
Right.
Um, the moment when I start going into my divine calling, then That's when things start really just opening up, opportunities opening up. Then within these opportunities, some was long term, some was short term, but it was all part of the divine plan for it to happen that way. And I had to learn that I had to accept that. Wherever it is, I had to learn to accept it and move forward no matter
Yeah,
what.
yeah,
Which
and
was
that's
bringing me at right now, where I'm at right now, having these conversations with a good person like you. So,
oh, thank you. Well, and that's the same. Like I said, the opportunity the methadone clinic brought to me, I also brought something to the table, and it was in this experience where I saw my value. And even while listening to you, I'm rehearsing my exit strategy with the owner, and that I know he would want me to stay, but the truth of the matter is he can't afford me.
yeah.
And
Hmm.
and and that's a good place to be, where you actually see that you have such a extensive skill set, that I'm glad to have encountered you and to have brought these skills to you, but I can't remain here because you can't sustain where I need to go.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's so true. Not only just financially, but also just spiritually as well. And I learned this too, that sometimes people they'll try to hold you captive, um,
Oh
because
yeah,
you're beneficial for their situation.
absolutely.
Instead of them realize that they have the same work as well as you do, and they just have to discover that potential. But people will use your understanding or your work and try to be like, as they call, vampires, draining your
Yes,
energy.
yes, I've
They'll
had a
just
friend
drain
like
the
that.
energy. Yeah.
I had this is really weird, because I just reached out to a friend, well, an associate that I haven't spoke to in about 5 months, because that is what I was experiencing from her. It was just an emotional and mental vampire situation, where she did, it's not like she didn't bring anything to the table, but everything she brought to the table had a string attached, and I wasn't aware of that. But when I became aware of that is when I distanced myself and I reached out to her. And she expressed her being upset with me because I kind of ghosted her for 5 months.
Hmm.
And I'm still not really able to articulate the whole of why I separated myself from her, but I knew that it was because, oh, excuse me, because I brought certain things to the table that she wasn't willing to go out and get, even though she had the ability to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Becoming more of a inhibitor instead of being a blessing. And there's and this also this brings me to us, talking about like ministry as well. And this
Hmm.
this is one of my things I have against the church itself. Now, uh, and this is just my perspective. My perspective is that I believe that the church, the actual church, the building. I'm not talking about
Hmm.
the body of Christ, but the church, the building, the actual building.
Hmm.
Uh, I believe that it has the ability to become an inhibitor to people as well, because the church normally is supposed to be designed where people come in and they'll be healed from any spiritual or any type of trauma that they then dealt with and go out. That's my theory about how the church should
I
be. But
have to, I really, this is just so weird, because my experience had been that, where I even have a sermon where my escape has become my prison.
hmm,
And
yep.
that's exactly where it was. It was my escape. It was my everything. It was, if I wasn't the first person coming through the church doors, I had the keys to open the church doors.
Hmm.
I was there that much. And my escape had become my prison. And I didn't, at that point in time, I couldn't really process how to navigate my way out of the prison, because the prison doors are always open. But I had to go through that wilderness experience because I needed to face myself. There were some things within myself that I had to contend with that weren't going to be resolved at the church house.
True.
They were going to be resolved within the four walls of my house, of my mind, that I had to contend with it. I had to resolve, that I had to bring to resolution. And I know my experience isn't unique, but I think that is one thing that I'll just say from my experience in the Black culture, particularly Black women, we use the church as an escape rather than actually dealing with trauma, with decision making, with transition. We lay it at the altar rather than saying, okay, God, you brought me to the altar. Now tell me what I need to do, or give me divine inspiration to navigate this.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. That another thing that's to add on to that I have observed is preferably with Black women is that
Mm-hmm.
they're bringing it to the pastor or overseer as having this high expectation of them, not realizing that they're just as human as
Just as
they are.
capable,
They're
just as
just as
able.
capable. Yep,
And
absolutely.
that's why I enjoy the church that I'm at now, because the leader is a very young man. He's half my age. And he's the first one to say, you can pray this yourself through this. You can fast and pray through this, or you can study yourself through this, or you can make a decision for yourself and be okay with the outcome. Sometimes we are going to make a decision that is, I'll even say, could be detrimental to us, but it's a learning experience, and that's what we're here for. We're expecting, especially as Christians, we're expecting everything to be a cakewalk all the time, and
Hmm.
that's not at all what it is. It's just that we have favor, we have a covering, and we have permission to proceed with His guidance.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to your overseer too for telling you that. Shout out to him.
Yeah,
Because
I
it's
love him. I love,
yeah,
well,
because
him and his
it's
wife. They're, like I said, they're a young couple, about half my age, but they got more wisdom than probably just, well, I won't say all the leaders I've been blessed with, but with quite a few of the leaders that I've been blessed with, they have much more wisdom.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and I love hearing things like that where the pastors or the overseer, they actually allowing they members to um learn on their own instead of trying to indoctrinate
Mm-hmm.
their point of view or their perspective about it. And I think all of us had that different experience. Even me, when I was in ministry, I had that experience where you have the overseer trying to indoctrinate their perspective rather than allowing us to figure it out on our own. Just kind of give
Mm-hmm.
us a little bit of guidance on basic stuff that we need to know. But other than that, hey, get your butt on out there, fall on your own, and figure it out. You'll be all
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. And that's the truth. We're going to be all right.
Hmm.
It with all the experiences, going back to Romans 8:28, we're going to be all right. But we are going to experience some bumps and bruises. But in the long run,
Absolutely.
we're going to be all right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Miss Juanita, hey, I appreciate you very much on coming on panel. I know it's getting late. I know it's very late there where you
Yes,
at.
it is. I really have to be up in like 3 hours, but I already took a nap, so I
Oh
bounced
my
that in.
goodness. Yeah, I don't want you to be blaming it on me. I was
No,
on
I ain't
on
gonna
the
blame
panel with
you.
the official urban therapist.
I'll be sitting there slamming my Red Bulls during session.
But yeah, I appreciate you coming on. It's I think it's I don't know what time it is here. What time is it here?
Should be
Oh, it's
10:53 for you
yeah,
guys.
10:53. Y'all know I'm be keeping up with time no more. But yeah, it's 10:53 here. I'm just get ready to end this section. I appreciate everyone who's tuning in. Once again, if you like the content, by all means, you can donate to the Cash App, the Official Urban Therapist. It's totally voluntary. If you want to do it, if not, then it's all good. But it's totally voluntary. Also, if you enjoy this content, or if you agree with it, or if you disagree with it, by all means, share, and comment on there. I'd love to hear your point of view about it. Read about it as well, like I always do with all my content I put on here. I don't mind people commenting on there, whether you agree with me, disagree with me, whether you're talking about me, I don't care. As long as we have this conversation, that's all that matters. All right. So I'm going to go ahead to end it here. Once again, I appreciate Miss Juanita for joining the panel, and I also appreciate Wendell as well for joining the panel too. He didn't disappear, so we're just looking at his brain for the rest of the night.
I started talking too much. That's all.
Absolutely.
Can I ask a quick favor? And you could say no, that'd be fine. But
No.
can I mention my church and leadership?
No,
because they do
no,
have an online ministry.
Yeah, you can.
My church is Next Level Culture, and my leaders are Apostle Gregory and Pastor Layla Jefferson, and they can be found on Pop Up Blessing or Next Level Culture on Facebook.
Gotcha. Matter of fact, let me do this too. I could actually add it on there. Let me put this technology to work here. Let me go here and I think I can. Wait a minute, hold up. Bear with me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I want to add it actually on here. I can put it in the comments too.
Oh, that would be awesome.
I put in comments.
Yeah, because
once
I'm on the stream, I can't go back. Well, I'm using my phone, so I don't want to lose track of you. But it's he's a young man, and a young woman should be their cover photo picture. But Pop Up Blessing Fam, and Next Level Culture Ministries are the two ministries. Pop Up Culture is exclusively online, and Next Level is the physical.
You said Pop Up Culture?
Pop Up Blessing Fam.
Pop Up Blessing Fam.
And Next Level Culture. Or you could just put their names. Maybe that'll bring it up faster.
I'm looking at it right now. Matter of fact, hold up. I'm gonna do this for you. Since we're endorsing your church right now, I can do this.
Okay.
I know I can do this.
Okay.
Let me get on here. Go back here.
And hopefully my fan didn't do too much interrupting while we were on talking, but it got hot here in Michigan. It got to like 85 degrees today.
Oh yeah.
And
it was hot in Texas too. It was kind of raining this weekend in Texas, but it stopped now. Now we got all this humidity here in Texas.
Oh yeah, y'all can keep the humidity.
Yeah, I got it here. I'm just trying to share it real quick because I can actually share my screen.
Okay.
I'm trying to navigate around it real quick. I got a lot of other screens up. But as soon as I get it up on, I'm definitely going to share it.
Okay. And I wish I could see because I think there are some knockoff pages, but I'm pretty sure you'll have the right one up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I got the one of it. Actually, show that picture. Well, I'm looking at
they're in blue jean.
Well, one picture I'm looking at right now, he's wearing like a suit, and she kind of she got her hair down long, wearing yellow.
I can't say I know that picture, but if it's a African American couple, he's a more chocolate color and she's more yellow.
Yeah, and they
Uh,
they they um they ministry on Facebook, right?
yes. Like I said, the Pop Up Blessing Fam page is their online ministry, and the Next Level Culture is the physical location.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah, sure. Any other time, I'll not be able to have this thing up in 5 minutes.
That's the
Tonight,
devil. That's
I'll
the
yeah,
devil.
it's the devil doing it. Shoot, I'll be able to have this up.
I appreciate that. Thank you for putting that up.
Yeah, you work hard. Then let's say I got it right now. I'm looking at it. I'm literally looking at it right now.
Hmm.
Uh, but I'm just trying to navigate it around. Is it what's the name? Leela Jefferson?
Yeah, Layla Jefferson
Mm-hmm.
is our pastor, and Gregory Jefferson is our apostle.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, see, I got it. I'm looking right at it. Looking
Okay.
right at it. Just want to share it. Just why I just want to share it. That's all I want to do in life. Just share.
Wow, I think I
You,
caught you right at the beginning too.
are the live?
Yeah, because I'm seeing the timestamp of 2 hours 9 minutes, and I think I did join right at the beginning. Usually, I'm not usually very engaged with a lot of live streams, and yours kept me on.
Yeah. Yeah, I tend to do that to people when they see my videos and stuff.
Oh, well, that's good. Yeah. This
Okay,
modern
I'm
culture
gonna do
wants your,
this.
oh, don't
I'm,
don't get on camera. I almost picked up the phone. I'm like, no, don't no. I'm in my bonnet and everything. No.
no, not the bonnet.
Now I'm in the
Ooh,
bonnet. It's 12 o'clock. I'm gonna be in the bonnet.
don't have me start talking about Derrick Jackson. They sure gonna want to say some
Oh,
stuff
and that
about
was supposed
that.
to be a beret, but it showed red as a bonnet, didn't it?
Yeah.
That was a bonnet, sis. I don't know what you're talking.
So I'm gonna do it this way. I'm gonna go to their Facebook page. Then
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna cut and paste their Facebook page onto the chat.
Okay.
We could do like that. Then it's going to pop up.
Okay.
So we're gonna do it like that. But I just have to navigate to this and that and that and that, and then we can get it. Let me get out of here. I'm doing this on my phone now, so
Okay.
uh, pop up blessing fan page. What name? What made them name it pop up blessing? By the way,
I don't
what's the history
know. I
behind it?
think because I really don't know for a fact. I never asked, but I know that they kind of just pop up.
Oh,
They don't, it's like they don't really make a huge announcement like, oh, going live in an hour or whatever. They just, when they come on live, at least that's just my excuse or my explanation. I can't really say that I know for a fact, but
hmm,
whenever I caught them, I just caught them, they just happened to be on rather than they kept a real schedule.
gotcha.
So that might be totally wrong, but that's what I can say.
Yeah, that's the story. You sticking with it, huh?
That's the only story I got for you.
Dang, I ain't trying to do that because it's showing me they Gmail, but I'm not trying to get their Gmail. I'm just trying to copy and paste their actual fan page and stuff.
Hmm. I don't know if you want to do the fan page. Well, I guess you can do the fan page. I don't know. I never went live before. Well, I did it once. And that was very recently. Yesterday, actually. Um, so I really don't know how to navigate.
I'm gonna type it. I'm typing
Okay.
in here. Ugh. These old fancy iPhones.
Mm, no, thank you. I tried to do iPhone and it just wasn't. I didn't like it, but that was just my personal taste.
And I put it up in the chat now. Pop up on. They can search it. Pop up on Facebook. Pop up blessing fam,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
and then they could want to search it as well. And the search engine it'll put up. That's like I found it like less than 5 seconds.
Right.
So then what I do when we get off of here, I go back and navigate and I'll share it again in the chat the actual website and all that stuff too when we get off.
Okay, that'd be awesome.
I'll do that. I'll do that.
All right. Well, thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to speak. I really appreciate it.
You're so welcome. I appreciate your perspective as well, and I also appreciate Wendell's perspective too. He probably gone now, probably
Yeah,
sleep.
he might have fell asleep. Oh, he's gone for real.
No, I kicked him off.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I kicked him off here, but yeah, I appreciate that, and I also appreciate everyone who's been tuning in and listening. Once again, please share because I honestly believe that this is a message that everyone needs to just hear, and I believe that everyone, especially ones on the panel, gave a very good perspective about it. They'll help one another.
Yeah,
So,
I'm a share once I go back on Facebook. Yeah.
I appreciate it. So, all right, everybody, thanks for tuning in, and I'll be online tomorrow as well doing another one interesting topic. So tune in for that. And like I always, everybody continue to fight fate with faith, and y'all have a wonderful night. All right.
All right. Good night.
Good night.